Hey everyone, and welcome to Live in Ottawa. And in this week's video, we're actually going to explore the west end of Ottawa. We're going to look at the towns, the areas, the commute times, to see if it's the right area for your family to relocate to. Before you get into it, show reel, hit it. So here we are, we're actually looking at the city of Ottawa, and you can actually see that the Ottawa boundaries are quite large. They're actually almost shaped like a heart and when it looks around, because we love Ottawa. And of course, as we go into the Ottawa itself, today we're going to focus on that west end of Ottawa and explore it a little bit more and understand the towns, the commute times, and understand kind of what it really offers for the family that is relocating to Ottawa. Now, Ottawa has a lot to offer, and what's really interesting about Ottawa is that we see this Greenbelt that connects around the city of Ottawa, and that was actually put in place by the National Capital Commission back in the 70s and the 80s. And so that what kind of divides the city of Ottawa from the suburbia areas of Kanata, Stittsville in the west to downtown. You also see it in the south here between Barhaven and Manotick area and Riverside South, that it also is kind of unconnected to the downtown area of Ottawa. And this is great because this actually offers and affords the opportunity for families to enjoy nature trails, parks, an abundance of green space, which brings along all those different lifestyle opportunities that City of Ottawa and Ottawans enjoy. And as that green belt is there, it's actually a protected area. Now, some has been developed over the years, and sometimes the rules change on it, but for the most part, the green belt really is a protected area for Ottawa. And as we look in the west here, we start to see different neighborhoods like Nepean in the south, where I grew up. And as we move closer, we start to have areas such as Calicum, Redwood Park, Trend Village, Arlington, Bruce Farm. These areas were actually built around the 1970s, 60s, 70s, and then into the early 80s. And as that Bayshore, Britannia, Crystal Bay over here, which is a great area, you find some beautiful bungalows, split level bungalows, some really awesome 1970s architecture. And as it kind of comes in, you can see that just on the other side of the highway here, you start to get this beautiful green space, which allows residents that live in the west end of Ottawa the opportunity to go to nature trails and parks. Speaking of which, as we get in here, we can see that some of the parks, we look in Pinhay Forest, one of my favorites, nature trails just behind the Nepean Sportsplex. This is great for people looking to work out or take their dogs for a quick walk. Certainly walkable from all the different areas such as Tanglewood and Manordale area, Craig Henry up here as well, that can access into there. And because of the geographical area of the Greenbelt, it actually has affected some of the architecture and the city services that operate in that area. You look at Maryville Gardens, Grenfell Glen, Pine Glen, Country Place. These areas, in fact, we did a series of videos on that whole area recently on the channel on our Ottawa Neighbourhood Tours, and we'll link those below in the description. But these areas are great because they actually are on the cusp of all these nature trails, and they actually have septic services and well because they're not on city services. Now, if you haven't lived in those, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. It's certainly a lifestyle choice to have that. But the great also benefit of having that lifestyle choice is that you have all these nature trails and it feels like you're in this rural, disconnected area from the city, which is great from privacy as well as lifestyle. But then you can also jump in the city and have all the great services because it's all right there. And as we scroll over to the west more and we're looking back into the Calicum, Crystal Beach area here, or Crystal Bay, Crystal Beach, they go by a few different names. The area here really is on the cusp of that green belt. And as we get in there, there's this little nook called Bell's Corners, in which we actually covered in two videos, Bell's Corners East, Bell's Corners West. And this area is great. And what I love about Bell's Corners is that it isn't more of a 1970s architecture, but it's like this insulated hub onto itself. It's not real, it's kind of, landlocked by these nature trails, but still yet very close access to the 417, has this nice Robertson Road right through the middle of it. So it has this main strip with all the services of grocery, the beer store, LCBO, cafes, restaurants, right at your doorstep. And of course, you have the suburbia area that kind of covers it as well. So, sometimes you'll find a 1970s home, which might be a little more affordable, might need a little bit of work to be done on it, but sometimes you can get some renovated ones in here too. So it's a good opportunity for families. And as you head south outside of Bell's Corners, You actually can see here that greenbelt coming through. You have all these great trails: Beaver Trail, Jack Pine Trail, one of my favorites. You get down to Lime Kiln Trail, and Lime Kiln Trail has actually got like these old ruins that are on it as well, and it's a great little spot to go. But as we scroll over, we can actually see all these nature trails that connect in from those trails to other trails. You get all the National Capital Commission trails, so great for cross-country skiing, hiking, mountain biking. All these trails go in this intricate network that just scoots all around this area, all around Bell's Corners, just on the side. And there's a massive amount of trails here just to take advantage of. You can see these green squiggly lines and they just keep going. So that whole area there is just one part of the Greenbelt, which offers so many nature trails for the outdoor enthusiasts, which I absolutely love. You can take your dog for a walk. Speaking of dog walks, we look at Bruce Pitt here. Bruce Pitt is between Bell's Corners and Trent Arlington, which we've covered those videos in the past. But we have these beautiful nature trails that go around Rice Lake. But Bruce Pitt itself actually has portions of it that's kind of semi-fenced in. So the dogs can actually run around off leash with other dogs. And it's a great spot. I bring my little boy Champion out there. He absolutely loves the park there and running with the big dogs. He's just a little guy. So as we scoot across from Bell's Corners, you know, one of the other benefits of these neighborhoods is that they have this great hospital, the Queensway Carleton Hospital. This is a full-on hospital, great services for the families that live in the area, and one of the major hospitals that we use in the Ottawa area. So as we kind of keep heading west, you know, we're going to see that Greenbelt area kind of slide down there with the nature trails. We get into Kanata. And Kanata is one of the biggest suburbs in Ottawa. And Kanata really was kind of built back in the 60s, 70s area. And it has its own kind of downtown hub because it has this high-tech area along March Road. And it has a massive business park there with all the different high-tech companies that are in the area. And that area kind of rests right in that March Road area, which kind of Terry Fox connects up here. But you can see as you come off the Queensway, you scoot down March Road here, and you have it right in this section here. It's all along there, the different business park area. Of course, the Brook Street Hotel. It's a hotel I helped open in my hotel days. But we have Morgan's Grant in the north here. They call it South March, but it is in the north side of Kanata. So Kanata North, as is known, has the high-tech area, has Morgan's Grant, Shirley's Brook, and we also have Kanata Lakes, and one of my absolute favorites, which is Beaverbrook. Beaverbrook is an older established neighborhood, has golf courses that kind of trinkle in behind a lot of the homes. So some great park areas. A little more expensive for an older property. It might need some work, but it's a great developed neighborhood. Kanata Lakes, one of the benefits there, it's newer, back from the 90s and so on. From there, they did a lot of development phases. But actually the Kanata Centrum area. So this is a big shopping complex, which is in Kanata. And of course, a lot of pathway systems that connect from the back of these houses into the shopping area. So if you like that kind of European lifestyle to go and walk to your stores and walk back home, Kanata Lakes has a lot to offer for that. And as we kind of connect out, you can see there's this gray area here. This is actually a military area. This is called Connaught Ranges. It's a large military base which was put in place, all fenced off. But it was there from the 40s and 50s, from when that area was there. So we have west end of Ottawa, we have Bell's Corners, we have Kanata here, which is growing. We have kind of the older neighborhoods on the south side here being Katimavik, Hazeldean from the 70s and 80s, Glencairn, known as Kanata South. But we also have this mix of new stuff too, because you can connect over the Terry Fox Road, and you actually have Blackstone, Cardell built buildings here, and this is the big area which is now developing further down Fernbrook Road. This area is massively connecting. As you can see, it just keeps going and going, and this is all brand new builds, and it's actually connected up to the back of Stittsville. So Stittsville was a smaller town which started to grow, and Kanata just grew massively, and that's just fine line that separates Kanata from Stittsville. And as you see into the other part of Kanata, we have Bridlewood, Emerald Meadows, kind of more 90s architecture in this area. Now we're seeing a lot more new builds as we go more south, because there's kind of layers that are happening in as they keep going into that area. And we have the Hope Side Road here, which connects down through the backside of the Kanata. But these farm areas here and here are being looked at. Most likely they'll be developed in the years to come. So something to be cognizant of where you buy. And as we come off that 417, we have the 416 highway here, and there's the Hunt Club extension, which connects through to here and comes right down here. This area always used to be a bypass for people to get away from outside of the rush hour traffic to get down there. And this has now become a 4-lane highway with roundabouts and everything else. So they're expanding with the anticipation of this area actually further expanding. So it's something to consider. Something else about the traffic we want to consider is that when you're in the Ottawa area, living in Kanata, living in Stittsville, if you work downtown, and a lot of people do, it's kind of seen as a satellite suburb where people will live, sleep, and then of course work downtown. If you're going to downtown, you always want to be cognizant of your time of departure, because if you're on that highway and if you're after 7:20, 7:30 in the morning, you're going to start to see bumper to bumper traffic build up. And it usually builds up right around this cusp. We call it the hill. You're kind of coming over a hill and you can see beautiful views of downtown Ottawa as you're coming in from Kanata on your morning commute. But your timing is tricky because you want to make sure, if you have kiddos and you want to drop them off at the school, what time can you drop them off? Because they might have delayed drop-offs. If it's 8 o'clock, now you're going to be seeing that traffic. So looking at your daycare, looking at your school, what is your drop-off times? Can one parent come in to work and avoid? All depends. Just want to play with your commute times and be cognizant of that 7:20, 7:30 time frame. The benefit of Bell's Corners is actually that you're inside of that, almost inside that greenbelt. So you actually avoid some of that traffic, and you can leave a little bit later if you're a later riser and want to enjoy that second cup of coffee. You can actually enjoy that by doing that. And when people refer, hey, you're living inside the greenbelt, that really is that green ring that floats around that city. You're inside the greenbelt, so you kind of avoid that rush hour traffic from suburbia. So now we have Kanata coming in. We have the north, we have the south, we have the newer development happening down here in the south. We saw a lot of development up in the north side. On the northern side of Kanata, just before we hit the Carp area, the small town of Carp, we have like kind of these 1 to 2 acre lot estate homes, beautiful areas, really well developed. Before we go that way, let's continue west. We have Stittsville. Stittsville is absolutely beautiful. Small town, main strip, which has now really been developed more and more, certainly the more south side of the west of Stittsville. We have the main strip that kind of comes along here, Stittsville Main Street. But as you get along Fernbank here, you start to see a lot of new development that's been taking place. Beautiful homes. I have a few clients that live in this area. It's starting to expand further down in this area. You have this great road along here called West Ridge, and this kind of West Ridge Drive. And I have a few clients that have bought up here on these areas as well. And they love it. Very family centric, very hockey focused, very sports focused. Kanata itself is very, very hockey and sports focused as well. A lot of great sport programs and after school programs. Some private schools that dot through the Kanata area. So certainly some choices, and some of the best schools are also in Kanata, Stittsville area. Some beautiful, beautiful large schools that have great administrative staff. So Stittsville is great. I love Stittsville. I love Kanata. Great areas, really well done. You have the Tanger outlets here. You have the home of the Ottawa Senators right here with the Great Canadian Tire Center, which it's currently named. And then, of course, as we go into the north side of Kanata, we start to get into the Carp area just outside. So Carp is a smaller town. It's got some really fun things going on with the Carp Fair in the summertime. Has a beautiful Diefenbunker, Canada's Cold War Museum. I visited this many times. Actually, it's got a 5-level deep bomb bunker, which is set from the 1950s. You can walk through it and feel like you're in a time warp. They also run some fun programs there, like escape rooms. So you can do group outings or family outings for an escape room from the Carp, the Diefenbunker. They also, in the holiday season of around Halloween, they also have a zombie run. So you can actually get in there and try and get away from the zombies. So that's good fun for the family. They're not live zombies, obviously, or dead zombies, whatever you consider that a zombie being. So as we get out of the Carp area, we're still kind of reconnected here. We have Ottawa, we have Bell's Corners, Kanata, north and south, divided by the 417, the Queensway. We have Stittsville. Further down, we have this beautiful small town of Richmond, Ontario. Great town. My wife actually went to school here at the high school. This is a good little small town with a lot of new development happening more in the west side of Richmond, kind of coming further away from the city of Ottawa. So if you want new build, but you want small town, Richmond's a great opportunity. A lot of smaller area too, but very friendly small town. Heading back up to the northwest side of Ottawa in the Kanata area, we have this area called Dunrobin. And Dunrobin is absolutely beautiful. I love Dunrobin. Beautiful rolling green hills, almost like a small piece of Ireland. And as you get in from there, you can also see some great nature trails and stuff to go on, like Pinhay Point, actually one of my absolute favorite spots to go for a walk. Pinhay's Point historic site. It's beautiful along the river. You can bring go for a picnic with the family there. So it's a great spot to kind of walk around. As you go further up from Pinhay, you've got some areas here called Constance Bay. Constance Bay and Buckham's Bay, these areas are beautiful. In fact, it's a small kind of beach area. We did a neighborhood tour of this area, and it's got some beautiful beachfront properties. The only thing you want to be cognizant of in this area is the water level. There has been some floodings in the past, and so we want to look at where the 100 water mark is in terms of where it is to the property that you're going to be purchasing, because you want to make sure it's away from the water area, and also be mindful of insurance. So when you're purchasing insurance, if you're near certain water courseways, it can actually affect your insurance costs. So it's something you want to be considering into your monthly budget when you're carrying these properties. Buckham's Bay is just on the inside of this kind of peninsula, and it's a great area because all around it have these beautiful homes right beside kind of smaller cottages that have been there from the 50s. So it really is an interesting area. What I really love about the Constance Bay area is this middle section, which doesn't even come up. It's actually a huge nature trail, big area that you can see different types of species of animals that are in there that you don't find in a lot of other areas of the city of Ottawa. And it's kind of a protected area. So certainly something to be considering of if you want to get there and take a look in that area. Further up, these side roads are beautiful for nice summertime drives or even the autumn, fall time. And we come into Fitzroy Harbour. And Fitzroy Harbour is a great spot. In fact, I have a couple of clients that live in this area. And Fitzroy is a kind of a little hidden gem, very affordable, very kind of summertime feeling to it as you get into the Fitzroy Provincial Park, which is a protected area as well. And they got the Fitzroy Beach here, so you can actually enjoy some summertime fun, volleyball, swimming, barbecues. And, the Fitzroy area is interesting because you have these smaller towns like Goleta and a few other spots that are like these hidden gems that you can actually afford. Your budget goes a little further, and you're not that far from the city of Ottawa. You're literally, I would say, 45 minutes to 60 minutes from the city of Ottawa to enjoy this kind of lifestyle, being, unconnected from the city and rural privacy, which offers a lot for families. As you go up Goleta Side Road here, you cut over to Arnprior, just outside of the city of Ottawa area. The benefit of a lot of these towns as they sit outside that city area is that it has lower property taxes. Something else you want to consider if your monthly budget is insurance, property taxes, and then what your mortgage payment would be. But Arnprior has a lot to offer. Beautiful, smaller town, but it is growing. It's actually got a lot of things going on for it. The main strip has cafes, restaurants. I spend a lot of time in Arnprior. Our family has a family property just outside. We call it the Cottage. And it's actually outside of the Arnprior area. So we drive through the Arnprior almost every weekend in the summertime. And there's just a lot going on there. Beautiful little area. Great fishing as well on the Ottawa River. And as you come further back in from the Arnprior, we come work our way down. We go through little towns like Pakenham. And then you get into Mississippi Mills, known as Almonte. Almonte is absolutely beautiful. If you talk about picturesque small towns, Almonte is probably it. In fact, they shoot a lot of Hallmark movies in the Almonte area because it is so picturesque, and it's known as the friendly town, and people are very, very easygoing here. And once again, just a typical West Side Ottawa small town. You pick Pakenham, Arnprior, Almonte, Carleton Place, Richmond, just these small kind of interconnected, really great small towns with beautiful architecture, stone buildings along the main strip. Just a lot to offer if you're really out for a lunch or a little day trip. And so, or going out to a nature trail, or a lot of bikers too. A huge cycling community here in Ottawa. They'll drive out, they'll park their cars and cycle from these areas and go for routes. And there's actually a website that I can send to you if you're interested. It actually outlines all the different cycling paths, has an interactive map for the city of Ottawa. So we have beautiful Almonte. Getting down into Carleton Place, where actually I own my first house was in Carleton Place. Carleton Place is great. You know, it's actually expanding very quickly. A lot of development, a lot of great services. You have the old, you know, you have some of the wonderful restaurants along the main strip with original cafes right by the new development where you have your Starbucks and everything else. So you have this old and new being mixed together. You know, you have the smaller home hardware mixed right near to a Home Depot. And so there's a kind of like this, whatever your preference is, you know, the Carleton Place certainly has a lot to offer. And as you further west, you get out to Perth, which we've covered, and you get up to Pembroke and Petawawa, which is well outside of the Ottawa range, but it has these small towns that also have a lot to offer in the summertime trips. So you have Arnprior and the kind of the far reaches just outside the city of Ottawa. You come down to Almonte, known as the Mississippi Township of, and then you have Carleton Place as well. We have beautiful Richmond right in here. Which is right near Munster, small little town of Munster. And of course, we have some other smaller towns down, you know, south of the city, such as Smith Falls, Merrickville, Kentville. But we're going to get that into a future video when we cover the south side of Ottawa. This was really focused on the West End. And why I love West End Ottawa, it's just because it has this, you know, this geographical view. It's just really aesthetically pleasing. Beautiful rolling hills. You have the Gatineau Hills in the far distance. You have beautiful scenic views of the Ottawa River. You have these small towns like Arnprior, Almonte, Carleton Place, Richmond. These really kind of great little towns that all have these little unique bakeries, cafes, and stuff to go and spend some time in. But then you also have the beautiful Kanata and Stittsville. You know, you have these areas where you can actually raise a family and be connected to sports. You can be connected to outdoor facilities. You can be connected to great schools, super low crime rates. So, you know, Kanata, Stittsville, great areas. Bell's Corners has a lot to offer as well. And these places are expanding. You know, there's a lot of things happening in the West here. You know, expansion of suburbs, expansion of smaller towns that are growing into bigger towns. And, you know, it's from the farthest from Arnprior to get to downtown Ottawa, you're looking like 60 minutes to get down there. Arnprior to Kanata, you're looking at about 20 minutes. So anywhere across Ottawa, if you're in the far end of Stittsville to the far end of Orleans in the east, you're looking at 45 to 60 minutes, you know, not hitting that rush hour traffic. But you want to be cognizant of that rush hour traffic from the 7:30 to the 9 o'clock time frame, and then 3:30 to about 6 o'clock in the afternoons. But other than that, West Ottawa has a lot to offer. It's a vast area. If you have questions to try and navigate where you can actually have your family relocate to, you know, we're always here to help in any way. And of course, discovering these on your own is just a great spot because there's just a lot going on in West Ottawa. And that's why I love West Ottawa. So there you guys have it. The West End of Ottawa. A lot of great little areas for your family to relocate to. Speaking of relocating, if you're thinking about making a move, feel free to reach out to us. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, even wrap it up in a bow and send it first class because we got your back. We're moving to Ottawa or anywhere across Canada. And each and every week, we're bringing brand new videos just like this one. So make sure to tap that subscribe button and click the bell so you're notified each and every time we do a brand new video. And until next time, take care.